join with me at the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I can't do anything tonight. Trip on that. All right, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted on the wall. It's also available in pamphlet form on request at City Hall, and it can be found on the link that's available in this agenda. Tonight we'll be discussing the 2026 to 2027 budget for the library first, and then the fire department. Okay. I'll let you go ahead and get started.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Well, good evening, everybody. Appreciate your time. Board and I are enthusiastic to workshop with you again this year. Just to dive right in, to give you a sense of where we're at with this fiscal year. At the start, the library department was approved for $56,520 worth of expenses, and we've also made use of $3,800 in savings and CD funds. So that said, for the upcoming fiscal year, the library department is asking for a total of $65,410.56, which accounts in advance for the possibility of CD and savings use, as well as $57,560 worth of city transfers from the city.
So most of that increase is within what you guys have in your savings and not with what you're requesting
Most
from the
of it,
city.
yes.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, it'd be $1,000 difference
Yep.
of what we're asking from the city in summary.
Great.
But most excitingly, you'll note on the worksheets that the proposed budgeted revenues and expenses match.
Awesome.
So that's the first time that that's happened since I've been on, and it's been a long way to working towards realism and modesty.
Yeah.
So, with that all in mind, what questions do you guys have for us?
Awesome. Well, I can speak for myself from here. I know last year felt like a really big hurdle because it was kind of the introduction of some real numbers that we hadn't seen in a really long time. And thank you for how accurately and how well you've done your due diligence to deliver on the numbers that we did our best to guess with when we had first time real numbers. So, and then this seems like a really reasonable and really thought out and genuine request for this year. So thank you for that, because I know it takes a lot of time and energy to do something that thoughtful and accurate. So thank you.
I was fortunate to have a lot of assistance as well between my board and working with Jane as well to get accurate formulas so that the numbers that haven't matched before they should be a lot more accurate this year.
Wonderful.
So, thank you Jane as well.
Yes.
So the other revenue, 4010, that looks like the savings account number or some amount of money, or,
Yes.
okay.
And I wasn't sure where else to make note of that in the budget, so that's the best guess, but if there's a recommendation you have as to where that would be better reported, that'd be great.
I mean, if you want it in there as a placeholder, you know,
More or less.
so it kind of balances, that way we could always note that other revenue is savings. But I had explained to her that the auditor confirmed that, it just has to move from one asset account to another, you know, the library savings asset to the library checking asset. You can't really put it into a revenue line.
Correct.
And, yeah. But if you want it there as a placeholder so that it balances, like you said.
So you would only withdraw that from that if that is needed, right?
If needed,
If
yes,
needed.
up to that amount.
So I see you have a budget for electrical, concrete, and painting compared to what it was, by $2,000, which I think is legit.
Yes, and that's a pretty broad rough estimate because between getting the budget schedule, and tonight's meeting, I wasn't able to get full-on quotes.
For
They're
sure.
in
Yep.
progress, but
Yep.
I don't have quotes yet, so for at least one of those projects, hopefully it fits within that range.
I've got one question, 6426, you show CD expended at 4260 is proposed, is that sitting somewhere that I don't see here?
Are you asking?
Are you
if there's a revenue line?
drawing that from someplace?
Are you asking if there's a revenue
Yeah.
line that matches?
Yeah.
Yes, that would be the 4026 CD to be dispersed. So,
Oh, okay, right there. So you show 5,000 and you're showing 4,000 on here.
yes,
So
So-
4265 is what you're showing to take off of that is your
yes,
yours.
is how much we would prospectively want to be able to spend on those types of projects if we needed to.
Okay, so there again, that would only be in case you need a,
Yes,
so
Correct.
that's 5,000,
Could you have the other portion of that
7.
tied to another one of these?
how do you mean?
So you have 5,000 on the CD.
Yep.
Did you just have just all of it considered in case needed, but this is all that you came up with that you could have maybe need, so you wouldn't maybe need all of it?
Correct.
Okay. I just didn't know if you had it split between another one that you also wanted that tied to. Okay.
Nope, in summary, they should be one for one, each of
Perfect.
those, and yeah.
You're saying because it's 5,000 in and only 42.
Right.
60,
I just didn't know if there was another line item she had that
Right.
tied to. Yes.
Wondered too.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, perfect.
And again, those are placeholders.
Yes.
Correct.
So that if we were to make use of any of those for projects, that it would reflect,
Right.
the total would reflect is what we actually spent at the end of the year.
Perfect.
You guys follow your budget report so close. It's nice. But I'm assuming you didn't have any real, if you see something that doesn't seem right, you address it right away.
Yes,
If we accidentally put in the wrong line item or something, right? So
Yep. that is
I've
my
got the
background.
history of everything here, what was done for line item, if anybody had any
Sure,
questions, what
sure.
does that line item cover, you know?
Real quick on 5,900 with insurance, would that be the new
Oh, okay.
updated, all of that corrected
Yeah,
insurance for
that
this
is-
year and then rounded up? That would probably be enough to cover what we have forecasted to expect.
That is, yeah, LARM.
Yep.
Not employee health insurance, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And we did not, I think for 25, 26, 25, 26. This was, we reallocated it. I
Right.
don't want to do any more than necessary because
Mhm.
it screws with the budget.
Sure.
So we gave water, sewer, golf their share because they should be paying for their own as enterprise funds. And we gave street their share because highway allocation helps pay for that. And we gave public transportation their share
Because the
because
state helps.
the state helps.
Mhm.
Even though she didn't wanna try to do that, it'd be too many questions, and that was fine, because they had quite a surplus in their account.
Sure.
So we might as well apply it to something, right?
Mhm.
So, library, we didn't do that to, because the other governmental funds, general just transfers into them anyway. So if you
Okay.
move it to library, you'd have to just
To move it
move
on.
them more money to cover it.
Right.
So that is truly, this year's insurance for the
Okay,
library.
so it is as accurate as possible.
Yeah.
So do you think that 4,000 I mean, because we've
No.
gotten next year's numbers already.
Yeah, and I think,
Cause that was my guess, the 4,000.
Yeah.
It's not an item.
$4,000 per $1 million of evaluation.
what's that?
It's $4,000 per $1 million of evaluation.
Well, we did get a thing, didn't have transportation in it, but we did get their estimate, I can go grab that, and,
Because we had libraries,
sometimes.
more of a
they-
detail on that one, right?
Sometimes they group like all the this is what made it such a challenge
Correct.
when I reallocated it.
Mm-hmm.
They have evaluation attached to every building
Mm-hmm.
and structure and whatnot. And then a total valuation number. But no dollar amount, just one premium for that whole evaluation. So I had to divide the valuation, and see what percentage that building was of the
Sure.
whole, apply that percentage to the
To the-
premium.
yeah.
So, I don't know if they improved that billing yet, but, John and I grab it. That's what we're here for.
I
No,
think we improved it, I think. if
we
anything,
put, a demolition
if something
into it,
happened
and,
to it,
and
we'd
rebuild
rebuild.
as a steel structure,
Yes.
not as
Not
what
as
it
it's,
currently is.
yeah, we wouldn't replace as similar, we'd replace more effective or something like that, whatever they call it.
Much of a thing.
Right.
But I've gotten much detail yet. No, it said
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking of that big packet we looked at.
renewal resolution due by 14 oh, you know how we did a 3-year thing?
That too,
So
that
if you
helped
wanna,
too.
if you wanna keep it a rolling 3-year to get the full discount, then on year 2, you wanna renew it for another 3 years.
Gotcha,
So we gotta renew it
Gotcha.
again, even though you're probably thinking,
sure.
we did a 3-year thing.
That's
So they said, yeah, so I don't have any details yet,
Okay,
But yeah,
I'm trying to think, a lot of the reason why we did that, we did that on a couple of different buildings where we changed pretty much what the money that they would allot to you if you had
Right.
a detrimental occurrence.
Council meeting.
Then yeah, you'd completely wipe out the building and we'd rebuild with more realistic numbers or, yeah. And then we wouldn't replace as is, we'd replace with what we need.
To rebuild the library the way it is, it's like $1 million.
Yeah.
It's 500,000.
Right,
Yes, I remember that discussion.
so if we do that 3-year
so I think this is still covered, maintenance
commitment,
of that is covered as R&D, so I think that's good.
if we do that 3-year thing, we get the 5% discount and it'll all come to 112,063, which about what it was last year. Then we had to tack on transportation now, so I was thinking it came on to.
That's what I was saying, 117.
And that's what it would be with a 90-day notice only. So maybe we don't even have to budget for an increase.
So I was gonna say, and I think that's part of what we were going over too, is what we could cut so we wouldn't see such a huge effect, cause they had so much that they needed to raise everything on, so. Which I felt like we were pretty effective with that, so.
We came close to not, our premium did go up, but
Not detrimental.
not like it would have.
Right. Well, I think we're good with that then. I was just mainly curious to begin with if that 25-26 number was with any of those adjustments, or if it was what their share would have been, so I
And
think
we
that's
did
a
our
good.
best to accommodate for that difference elsewhere in our budget, even though it was unexpected and out of our control.
Sure.
So,
Thank you.
But you are kind of like, what, 600 short? 4,000?
who showed
Oh.
on what?
Well, what date did these happen? We got another alarm thing, oh, that bill for 7,214, I think it was.
Mhm.
And so, instead of 3,688, that's probably what you're looking at. Oh, well, I don't know. You thought it was 3723.
That's what it ended up being this year. So
We had that 3688.20.
Is that year to date or end of year?
year to date, as of the end of June.
There shouldn't,
So it'll be another installment.
shouldn't be any more payments.
Okay, so it's
But then they made that adjustment.
Cause it was, we had
And
kind of a
then they
weird
made-
prorated
I
year.
can double check, but then they made another adjustment.
Like the hospital.
Oh, you know,
Yeah,
maybe. I need a calculator. It's possible what I'm looking at. Is this the calculator? Cool. 3688.20. I got debits and credits, I don't have them together on this report, so. Add it and then 1743, it looks like we subtracted 882.
did you include your new raise on the library wage?
Okay, I think so.
So,
I don't think
That was a
anything
last minute
changed.
change yesterday, so.
So yeah, you should be good.
Good deal.
so you have a part-time of 20 hours, about per week, I'm guessing 16,000 for a part-time assistant, is that correct?
So you'll notice that's in the notes column.
100%.
If we were to be dreaming and aspiring vastly, that's what an additional part-time person at $20 an hour for the year would look like.
For the entire year, not just for coverage for help and,
Correct.
okay.
And that's at $20 an hour,
That'd be at,
or 20 hours a week? You
20
said
hours a week
you
at
said
15.
15, you said $20 an hour, so that's just.
Sorry, 20 hours a week. And that's with the accurate formulas that I got from Jane as well.
Young lady, you've done an awesome job, as far as I can tell, from what I've seen. I'm not sure we can quite approve that yet, but well, you're on the right track.
In the future, that's something I aspire to. I don't know when it would be realistic to
You're doing
consider
awesome.
it, but one day, hopefully, that's
For sure.
the formulas I'd be using to propose that, maybe one day.
Yeah, that's interesting how this year it looks realistic, cause last year when we tried it, it didn't feel like it was realistic at all. Well,
It's,
it-
Move numbers around, huh?
But yeah, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
and
Yeah, great.
let's see, this will be my third budget season, and it's looked a little different every year, and I've learned things along the way each time, and so,
Yeah, that's awesome.
between like just honestly figuring out the payroll and making sure the math was right was one of the hardest parts, just because it's such a nuanced
Right.
formula.
Mhm.
And then I have a lot more experience of what our expenses are each year, so, and what our projects usually take.
Yeah.
As well as what existing resources we have outside of this. So,
Awesome. I think this looks great.
And I noticed, or I remembered, when you two came in and we were talking with Terry and I, we mentioned that part-time people had to have sick time now, but that, so I had questions because you have to have 11 employees or more, and when we had Amanda, we just had like 11. And so we thought that applied. I just heard about it from Terry and, well, Jody. But I kind of wondered, how do you, what employees get counted into that number?
Right.
So I emailed Nebraska Department of Labor and explained the situation. City of Crawford, we normally have this many full-time, this many year-round part-time. How do we follow this, and how do we do that? And there's 2 tiers, even more employees, and they get more, sick days. So long story short, they finally got back to me and they said, this does not apply to governmental entities or political subdivisions.
Well,
So
there you go.
we don't have to
Okay.
worry about that,
one less
Well, that's
formula.
kinda
take that into account or anything.
But that's not an odd that we get the simple version instead of the more complex
know,
version.
right?
That's a pleasant
That's a
surprise.
win.
Yeah.
It's short and sweet answer.
Right. Any other questions, comments, council?
Yeah, I got some questions. So, every time that we need to do a project around town, I get told we don't have the funds for it. So, we have to start pouring concrete in town. It's one of the things that we have to start doing. There's a lot of other issues that we have to start doing because that is what a city does. Critical infrastructure is number one. So where's the money gonna come from?
Are you referring to concrete projects regarding the library?
No, citywide.
Oh.
Citywide, so concern on perspective of the budget as a whole.
Okay.
So if we're to come up with those funds, how do we come up with those funds? And more appropriately, how do you do it from every single department so that it's in a sense fair?
Cause in my mind, that's what the city needs to focus on. Essential departments.
Well, and I do have to agree with that. We've went way too long without being able to make little to no progress at all. And the little is just the bare minimum of what we're required or what's come up as an emergency and not anything beyond that. I mean, we still have had emergencies we've not filled in yet.
And I got told, that water main that we had break on Main, I've been told, Tim told me, he said that thing has been patched so many times, we're about to have a catastrophic failure on that water main.
Probably a lot of spots like that.
Probably a lot of spots like that. This is why I'm bringing this up, because it seems like, well, we didn't get, our sales tax increase.
Correct.
And I don't know if you've noticed the price of fuel these days,
The
but,
price of everything.
I don't see it. I don't see any increases in non-essential departments. In fact, what I envision is cuts.
Realistically, yeah.
The golf, I have ideas when we get to golf, I have ideas when we get to park, but this is another one of those departments that I honestly don't see the city being able to continue to fund like we have been, any longer.
So what's?
That's the way I see it.
what do you suggest?
I'm just gonna, I guess, throw out my perspective here. It's not gonna win any popularity contests, and if anything, we're gonna have to, and it's gonna have to be every single department. Every year we do get a smidgen more, depending on how everything rolls with the state. A lot of the time, we try and make sure that covers 3% increase for employees, but we haven't been able to do that in years either. So in order to be able to hopefully squeeze out something like that still, but still make very minimal progress. I mean, how many different departments do we have as a whole? Let me do the list. Is it 12? What was the last one? 14?
May I ask a question?
You may.
The trash service, what department does that come out of?
That comes out of your pocketbook, it's not really a department,
That's a
the
subcontract.
city collects the payments for Swan and then sends that directly to Swan.
Okay, because I was gonna do the research and I was gonna talk to the ladies out front, because the relationship I'm having with my Swan services, now that we can't use the green barrels the way we were able to do before, I didn't know if there was a cost savings in reducing the number of green barrels.
What do you mean the way that you were able to use them before?
Well, before we were able to put limbs and trees and things
We've
like
never
that.
been able to, supposed to do that.
It's, well, in the 6 years that I've lived here, this is the first year that I've been, I've had any card put on our dumpster. And so I've noticed a real change in how that operates. So I guess what I was wondering is, since we aren't using them to the capacity that we were probably using them before, can we eliminate some of those, and would that be a cost savings? But if it's all related to customer funding, then that's where that savings would come.
It's based on the, how many dumpsters you have in your alley or in front of your house, whichever, is based on how many people live, how many utility bills we have.
City doesn't make any money off of
The
this.
city doesn't make
It'll go straight to that contract. So the only potential way to save on that is, you know, it's roughly calculated on 4 to 5 households per dumpster. But if we were to say, well, now we need to move it up to 8 households per dumpsters, and you guys just need to walk farther to make sure that you have your stuff emptied, and then they have less to service. There's the potential for that to have savings, but it's minute enough that I don't know that it's effective to do that to our customers.
I know. The Swan prices are region-wide.
Right?
Harrison to Gordon, we all
But it's still gonna
all pay the same
Yeah,
amount.
it's still gonna be,
Okay.
because even then it's just that per household.
Yeah,
Because a lot of households split and they do quarterly cost per dumpster, and then that's why there's so many dumpsters on one block, is because, you know, if everybody pays a quarter, then you need, if there's 8 houses on that block, they need 2 dumpsters, stuff like that.
So if we take a 5%, I'm just running numbers here,
Mhm.
take a 5% cut off the top of each department. You know, right, like this one here, you're saving yourself $32.50. In essence, you guys have enough CDs to cover the difference of what you guys are wanting to do, because you're not really utilizing them, you're just projected to.
That's the idea in our proposing them as placeholder perspective things. The difference between what our budget was this year and what we're asking for this year is $1,000. If that 1,000 is too much, I mean, this year we've proven that we can stay within that budget reasonably, and I have trimmed some services, I have trimmed a lot off of things. I've saved a lot of money in our budget. And our budget, though it is not an essential department, it's not an infrastructure department, and I recognize and respect that.
And I want you to be clear, I'm not picking on you personally, actually. But in my position, I get my ears chewed all the time.
About the library?
Oh,
No,
no,
No.
no, no.
The city having money as a
No, no.
whole, and not
No.
City
enough,
fixing
not,
the infrastructure.
not,
the
not enough
library.
being done on behalf of the city to fix the infrastructure, and if we just don't have the money for it, then it doesn't sound like we're being responsible for our overall budget. So, no, it's not directly tied to the library at all, so that,
Not at all.
My
that-
concern simply is that, cuts in this case, so we've made room for the possibility of using savings and stuff, and that's, I don't know, maybe $5,000 or $6,000 worth of that. But what we're asking for the city, from the city is $57,000. So if we were to, let's even call it like the same as this last year, $56,560. I mean, with the staffing situation that exists and the services that we have, because I didn't add any additional services here, we'd have to cut services and everything, and we've worked really hard to
right,
come up to this point without being a burden. And so I really worry about making cuts
sure,
at this point.
sure,
I
sure.
feel like we've really reached that actual bare minimum
So I
in
think
practice.
you guys in the calculator over here had the same idea I did over here, is if we were to come up with a number and cut it from all 14 departments, what kind of money does it even give us to work with? So I took 14 times 5,000, it's only gonna give us 70,000. Not a huge number, but we
No.
can do more cement with 70,000.
We've got 2 storm sewers that I am sick and tired of hearing
Right.
about.
Well, and that,
And that's been happening, that was before I even came
Correct.
on the council.
correct, and that I have found some grant funding, but again, if I could buy some extra time, I'd be researching those and getting into those more too.
The problem is, Mayor, you've got a limited amount of time you're stepping down, so this needs to be followed up and make sure
Right.
it happens.
But at least with storm sewers, like some of this stuff, there is the possibility that we can reach out, but 70,000 could be good matching funds too,
Mhm.
if we wanted to bite off a big chunk of
Right.
something. So like, yeah, I know that sounds really up there, but I think too, Ashley, you need to give yourself credit where you've built this and where you guys have a realistic view on whether or not we can make a library aid happen this year or not. That alone, if we cut 5,000 out, that doesn't completely wipe that out. I mean, it almost does. There's not a lot left.
5,000 of which area? So I'm following
A
along.
library aid. So just what you have forecasted for the cost of that library aid for the year is $5,600. If we told you had to take a $5,000 cut and we postpone that library aid for a year, potentially,
The library aid is not included in her green column.
Okay,
Yeah,
hold on,
that's,
hold on,
says
got a lot of house going on.
56,000.
Yeah.
So, in the income section here, that, the math I didn't bother to do is that there will be prospectively 2 to 2.5 months of that time where I will be on unpaid time off. So, if there was a library aid, which hopefully we get them hired, then that's a $15, no benefits, so there's even additional savings going on in those few months as well. So like 2.5 months of no pay, that does come out to about maybe 5,000, just in itself. That I didn't bother to put here because I need round numbers to
I
show
have-
you guys.
Question.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned this year you were getting 56,000 from the city, but it
Yes,
says 54,000 through 2024, and then,
yes, so, I said that we were approved for up to 5,520 of expenses. The other $2,100 difference, cause you'll notice that's an even 2,100, was supposed to come out of Keno funds, and that was what Terry decided to work out last budget season. So
that was what we had to pull from
well,
Keno to make
that was
things.
not a request that we
balance
made.
that was
because
actually
they went
more
over.
like 9,000,
Right.
2,100 was saving.
Because what you guys had asked for was over what we even had available. So
Right.
that's why
So-
we had to pull from that.
Yes, and we didn't necessarily request Keno funds or anything. We weren't told
No.
for that.
Right,
It's
right,
just
right. But if
how
you
it
go
got-
over what we had available, we have no other way to cover it.
So do you know what total transfers for all departments were last year? Roughly.
Yeah, let me pull that up.
some about the library aid and how that would work into that column.
But you had all of that in consideration with the 57,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I was pulling from.
Looks like you need
The
a computer.
57,000
Worth
was
paying.
part-time?
No, not the notes, but the person who's gonna be working during my maternity.
Because there's two different concepts here, the temporary part-time person that's
Yes.
covering your maternity,
Yes.
but then the wish list, the dream list,
Yes.
if we can have a permanent hire.
So you don't have the wish
That's
list
not
on
the
that.
table.
Correct.
You just have the part-time. Okay.
Correct.
I think, thank you, Lisa, for grabbing that, because I was thinking it was the wish list that was included and not the, okay, so we couldn't cut that by just cutting the wish list.
Right.
It's not gonna make an impact on what we have for numbers here. Perfect, okay.
Okay, all of the transfers from general to the other funds came to 496,340.48. But not all departments are equal. I mean,
Well, that's what I'm getting
some
at.
generate their own.
Exactly
their own
what I'm
revenue,
getting
some
at.
just have-
Right.
Tax.
Right.
See, and that's what, so she's talking about talking 5,000, so if she takes 5,000 off of this, it's gonna be compared to, you know, I'm looking at $50,000 what I'm thinking, so. Yes, that'd be 49,63.40, and you're thinking 70,000 if you just take 5,000 off each. Just to make it equal and fair to every department.
It should be like a percentage.
This should be a percentage.
Yep, so I'm following you here. I'm already trying to calculate what that percentage would be.
Right.
No, I did that wrong.
There's no way,
Okay.
there's no way you can reduce the fire and rescue contract.
Right.
No.
I mean, we could, but it's not gonna be, cause I've talked to what's his name about it, they need that, and it's not worth what we'd save and what we'd lose,
Right.
let me put it that way.
And that's
Water's
like
money
same
is their money, it can't be
And we
used
don't
for anything
transfer
else.
anything.
So everybody's.
Sewer's the same way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
this is just all
you can't,
middle funds.
right,
Okay, so, the 54,000 of what they are this year, of the total amount is 9% of our entire budget. And so if we wanted to, in a sense, pull an extra 100,000 out of our budget to work with, 9% of the 100,000 would be 9,000, so we'd need to cut 9,000 out of library to make that happen, make 100,000 happen.
what could you do that, like you say, you can't do that with all the departments, so.
Well, I mean, we
library's
could,
gonna-
that's almost why it'd be a fair percentage of 100,000 and maybe end up with 70, because you couldn't do it out of all the departments, you know what I mean? That's why I raised it up to 100. But 9%, I mean, I'm sure if you took golf and their total number of what they use this year, it's gonna be a lot bigger than 9%, so they have a bigger cut.
And I'm looking
Golf
for golf,
doesn't-
But the way you adjust golf is you have to adjust revenue, you can't.
Right,
um,
golf is gonna be on the profit side this year, if I'm reading these numbers right, they should be showing profit this year.
But
That's
even
hard
if-
to
even
read
if
at this
they
time of the year though, cause they
even-
always look good at this time of the year.
Even if they show
Cause
a
they're
profit,
heavy in that last month and a half, and then it just real fast.
it doesn't help the city though.
Oh, right,
I mean,
the golf.
You can't access their money to help library.
Right, right,
It
so
stays
that
in
would be,
golf.
that's not something that if you
Water
could find a
resources.
difference to help with street, yeah.
Okay, so I've asked for an itemized budget for golf, you're telling me they have their own line item, right? They've got their own account?
It's not an own
No,
account,
I think
it's their own line
Okay.
item, that's not the same.
Their
Yeah.
own GL.
water, sewer, and golf, the state recognizes as enterprise or proprietary,
It all goes to the
or
general fund.
enterprise funds. But it has to be, you cannot use golf funds for something else. You can't use water and sewer for something else. It shares the checking account, but it has its own, division,
Yeah,
own share.
line item.
And
That's
so,
what I was, yeah.
So golf is
When
not
it-
cultural and recreational like library.
because it's an enterprise fund.
Because it's a quote unquote business, yours is more of a community service.
But as the golf course is earning a profit, doesn't that mean its load on the city is less?
It should be,
Should
if
be.
it is.
Yeah, it should be.
How do you-
Okay, the general fund mama bear that's feeding all the other governmental fund baby bears is kind of separate from water, sewer, golf. If golf makes more profit, it's eating up less water, sewer money.
Right.
Cause water, sewer, golf are kinda considered together by the
Okay, but
state.
you said you can't take money
So.
from water, sewer.
No, it's not booked as taking it from them, but just like your own account, if you think you're gonna have 200 for groceries and 100 for electrical, and you spend 250 on groceries, then you gotta reduce your electrical, but it's not a good thing to do, it's not good, it's not right, it's not okay,
I just think it would be wonderful if golf
but-
were a lesser burden on the city, that would be a good thing.
but it doesn't
Well,
give
the
us
last
any more, doesn't give us any more money to
Couple
use,
years,
so.
it hasn't been a burden on the city. Not yet. We'll see.
The,
But barely breaking even is still stressful.
Yeah, it's very stressful.
Still a burden.
We did raise prices this year and hopefully, but
What,
the price of everything else went
in
up.
order to help,
Well, and with the fires, we had cancellations too.
what it really needs to do, there's still a deficit in the golf fund.
Right. But
And
they're still working off.
as, if they actually got to where they were making a profit, I mean, all the past cumulative deficit was paid up, covered,
Right.
and take years, but let's just say a miracle happens. And,
Right.
So that goes away, that just frees up water and sewers money.
Mhm.
Doesn't free up anything for the rest
That's
of it.
crazy.
I know, it's not fun. So realistically, it's not all 14 departments then.
Yeah, right,
No,
exactly.
that,
So
well,
what
you might be
departments?
right, let me think, there's 1, 2, 3, you wanna count garbage?
I
We
can't
can't
do
really-
anything about it.
Yeah,
So
but
there's police,
it is what
okay,
it is.
there's general, police.
Yes.
Streets.
Yes.
Floors, garbage, park, pool, community building.
Yep.
Cemetery.
Yep.
Library, public transportation. And then, water, sewer, golf, that's just 12. 1, 2, oh, well, because we're leaving some out. So,
So maybe 8.
so I was at public
7,
transportation.
Yeah.
And
Which
then
is
there's
50
water, sewer,
because
golf.
we've
But
got
you can't do
continual
much
cuts
there.
from the state, and so we are having
we
to
gotta-
cut more, we're having to cover more anyway.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Yeah, there's only 8
8 that we can really
touch
make cuts
much.
to.
And to make up that 50,000 that we're not projected to get from the sales tax, we get them voted for.
So even if you cut 8 out of, or 5,000 out of all 8, that's only 40,000, so that doesn't even cover
Still
that
even cover it.
percentage.
I mean, last year, we relied on a lot of grants when we were trying to do the
When
fund
everything was
balancing.
over, it was if you're gonna be over, you have to have it
But we
covered that way.
still, I volunteered to go down to 1 day a week, which was like $8,300 worth of wages in a year, $8,370 or something. And what did we have to book from Keno for library?
It was-
9,000.
yeah, it
I mean,
was
it's
still
almost like you
9,000
could come and really afford me 1 day a week, but
Correct.
there was just no choice.
Wait, you know,
So
work
are
it,
there
so-
grants to be had for the city municipalities, I mean, from the state at all, or federal?
Storm sewers, I don't
A
know
lot
what
of it's
grant you're talking
sewer
about,
water.
but USDA would loan, but they
Yeah,
aren't
and-
gonna
right.
grant.
Right,
And we're borderline whether we could even get a loan
We're
at this
debt
point.
heavy.
right.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
It,
no,
it
I
will
don't
be
want
good
it
at
all.
the end of this year, cause we'll be paying off 2 or 3 things this year on this year.
Small items.
Right, but it still frees up,
Start, yeah.
credit.
Start somewhere.
cause it's less things that we're paying on.
What would really help water and sewer is, one of them we can't pay off right away, but if you can refinance and get out from under
Sure.
USDA,
Right.
they're fine with it as long as you show you're gonna save an interest,
Yeah,
but, you don't have that darn bond reserve.
Right.
It's a killer.
mhm.
They make you set aside money
And
on
we don't
top
have
of
that
it.
available, right?
Hurts.
How
So,
much is that, you know?
oh, the big $500,000
That's
we
what I
did in
thought.
2022, that's maybe a
Mhm.
lot.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's not even realistic.
But, I don't know, maybe when we get right down to brass tacks, last year's budget will be enough different from this one, but I don't know. It seems like we rely on grant dreams for a lot of things.
Well, but even then, I mean, that compared to the 2 previous years, it's just running in the dark with knives.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's good to build
We've,
extra
we've,
stuff.
we've
like-
not got as far off as we could have been, not that that's anything to brag about, but
But insurance has gone up
somehow we
about,
stayed on the shoulder of the road.
insurance was about 90,000 in
Right.
2022. And then EMC dropped and we went with Beach State and Alarm. And now it's, what, 112, but it's gonna be another 15 with public transportation.
In all reality, we're not gonna see anything from the vacancy tax for another year or two. We probably won't see anything from that.
Correct.
The revenues. And that's gonna be hard to even.
Right.
Figure on, so.
Yeah, it'd be best not to figure out,
Yeah,
it'd be
I
a
mean,
happy
I
surprise.
mean, you
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
you
Just have a
know,
lot more liens on properties.
a lot of
Right.
this,
Right,
a lot of this, I'm basing off of all the warrants that we sign and, recognizing the significant increases in a lot of this stuff from when I started to
Mhm.
now.
yeah, that too.
Um,
Just utility wise.
Yeah, I mean, the fuel bills that we're paying now are extraordinary. And I know it's all gotta be done, but,
That eats a lot of production of what we could be working on. It's just
Insurance,
required.
insurance is at least 30,000 more, and fire got another 10,000. That's 40,000. We're
Right.
behind where we were in 22.
Correct.
Part of how my little microcosm of a department has been able to try to accommodate those unexpected large, like bills that get spread across the city, for example, is by monitoring the budget each month. Again, I'm a microcosm, a very small example, and I don't think it's practical for every department, but, having some requirement to be aware of one's department's budget, even just loosely or generally. Cause I know a lot of departments wear multiple hats, or they're the department head and the whole rest of the department, or whatever the case may be, but, having a sense of where we are throughout the year is really helpful, so I can tell whether or not I should seek out these type of supplies, or see if I can find out, outsource funding for those types of things, because I can see that percentage growing every month, as it relates to what transfers are coming in. So, that's been helpful to me.
I'm gonna go back to the CD thing again, Ashley, that's kind of where I draw it from. So is this one that comes due every year? You guys can draw 5,000 off it every year? Is this a one-time deal?
I believe it's on, miscellaneous numbers of months each time, depending on what the best rate is. So I've seen between 4 and 7 months of its maturity dates historically.
It's like
Similar to
10,000,
CD.
So it's-
11,000,
It's got a
7,000.
flat that you can draw the interest off, is what you're telling me, is that correct?
It has
Or you're drawing?
deliberate windows where we can pull from it.
I understand that, but I'm trying to come up where the 5,000 is.
That
Is
would
it
be a chunk of it,
That-
it wouldn't
so
be
you
a
are-
percentage of it, or
you
it
are-
wouldn't be a,
the
interest rate,
It's
yeah.
not the interest. So
No,
you're
it
drawing
would be a
down-
chunk of it.
Okay,
you're-
Right.
You're drawing down on the principal.
yes, principal.
And do you know what the total amount is on that? I mean, you don't wanna touch the principal if you don't have to.
It's, ideally, we never wanna touch the CD or the savings if we don't have to, but, in this fiscal year, there were, opportunities for projects like renovating the
For
entryway,
sure, yep.
or,
And air conditioner too, right?
the Friends took care of the air conditioner.
Right.
But the other part that we used CD funds for was for the new library management system. And so it was, we used the CD to cover the upfront initial costs, but we're saving, half
Our
of
month-to-month cost is substantially lower for the city.
our annual cost
Yeah.
is less forever, for a long time, cause anyway. So we've used things like that, we've used funds from CDs for projects like that. So I was just trying to make room in the budget for if there were projects where, if they came up, or if we had the opportunity to jump on them, that we could.
So if we had to cut $5,000 from each department, if that's what we decide to do, we have to, you do have that as an alternative, as a safety line that you could draw off of that.
Yes, as a last resort,
There's 8,500 is all.
I think so.
that sounds right.
85, 68, and there might be one
So
more
that's, I
interest.
just
on
hate
that.
to see them draw off the
Right.
principal we don't have.
Right.
Well, and I think you guys do an outstanding job with this, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but you're a really fortunate department to have friends of the library and a substantial volunteer staff. I mean, they've got a lot to reach out to and a lot to lean on, and not all our departments have that, and so that is something
I've
that's really
definitely
fortunate.
accounted for that in some of, like, there's a lot of projects that
Sure.
I'd like to execute next year that I'm going to seek them exclusively
Right.
for,
For sure.
for other entities in the community. So I did not include any of those kinds of things in this budget. I'm trying to be really responsible with, any city funds that this department receives would be used exclusively for the operation and the function of government without necessarily, increasing services or anything like that. So maintaining.
Well, Chris makes a really good point, and our city infrastructure has got to be addressed.
And I agree.
And unfortunately, everybody's gonna have to tighten their belts up. We are seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, which, when I come on here, I'm just scared shitless. So, I mean, it's, you know, if everybody does their little part of pulling the wagon, it makes it a lot easier. And I hate to even ask, but if we don't address some of this stuff, it's gonna be,
I recognize that certainly, and the reality is that, I've done all the math, I've had all the appropriate references and everything. This is what it would take to maintain. Whatever the city decides to do is well out of my hands. I will work with whatever I'm given, but, this will maintain such an impact for our community in terms of quality of life, access to resources. Even though you might not see it in a budget report, things that happen in the library do keep people in town, it keeps sales tax here. You know, I can't enumerate the variety and quantity of services that if we're not available here at the library with 30 hours a week, with a full-time staff person, with the services that we have, people would be leaving town for those. They'd have to travel at least 25 miles, if not several hours, as far as Wyoming, for similar services. And
I don't think there's any question, you do provide a huge part of this community.
I only bring it up because it's something that the city is directly providing to the community. So that's, if that's helpful at all to you guys.
But like
that's-
Chris says, we have to be responsible also, we've got other venues, so something we're gonna have to figure out.
If they're to, sorry, Jane, if they're to move on at the rate that they are, so right now, we're 3/4 of the way through and they're only at 36.8. If they stay at that rate for the last quarter, where does that bring them? Does that make, does my question make sense?
Yeah.
I don't have my end of year projection sheet, when we were proposing or requesting to advertise for the library aid, that worksheet had our projected and, it was pretty darn close.
So that's 54.
To the 54,
To the 56,520 that we were approved for spending.
oh, right,
Because
yeah,
some
okay.
things aren't
Right.
even month to month,
Right.
you know?
Right,
So it's probably.
So by my last math, we were slated to be within budget.
Oh, yeah, probably this
49.
last treasurer's report had your percentage of the.
We'll be right at 50,000.
The
So
percentage
you-
rate's a little high right
Thinking
now,
too.
and also there's expenses
Yeah.
on there that aren't being accounted for from our CD and savings, so it's gonna
Oh,
skew
right,
just a
right.
smidgen. So with those skews accounted for, we were right on target for this fiscal year.
I show you that you're saving $6,000, roughly. By the end of the year, project, I mean, this is an estimate is all this is, so can that carry over to next year's?
My end of year projections show us right up on the line, like right at the finish line.
So you've got stuff planned that we don't.
Well, I've got, the end of year projection sheet that I built, it's got actual averages of what utilities should cost and, what remaining expenses I know are encumbered or coming, as well as pay and that kind of thing, so. So we're at the point where we are functioning within a budget and sticking to it, even if we have to adjust at different times in the year.
Well, I don't think that, and I know I don't have a vote in this, but let me share my opinion, I guess. I know we threw around the 9% and whatnot, but as we spoke more and whatnot, I think to ask them to cut 9,000 would be, it would be close to impossible without just really being extremely detrimental. And if they're that close to the 56, you know, you'd kind of thrown out 50, I do think that would be a fair cut. At least to be something substantial.
6,000 or 5,000?
Just this year, excuse me,
He projected at 50,000.
they had this year's budget at 56, and then just have next year's at an even 50. Cause that's still
So that's a $7,000
That's a chunk.
cut?
it's still a chunk for them to cut, but
But they have the means to do it.
there's a tiny bit of wiggle room where it could potentially, I mean, realistically, they're one of the better departments to be able to make that happen.
Yeah, if they're gonna draw off of their CD, and I mean, that's what bothers me, is
At
that
that
there's not a
point, we'll
lot,
be pulling
there's not a
our
lot in line in that CD.
savings and CD funds to cover basic door opening costs. You know, switch from
I
products
under,
to utilities.
I
I'm
get
just
that,
pointing it out.
but we're sitting here facing, I would much rather you guys figure out a small cut like $6,000 than to tell you that you can only be open 3 days a week because we have to cut your budget in half. So, I don't want that to come across as a threat by any means, but we're dangerously in trouble with the monies that the city has. And as many times as we have made that conversation during meetings and whatnot, it's apparently not getting to the public because, you know, they didn't agree to do the sales tax increase, and we're very limited on all the other ways that we can make and raise the income that we have coming in. We've gotta do something drastically different or the city's gonna be in some real trouble here real quick. So I don't wanna suggest pushing it any harder than that, cause you guys have worked so hard to earn what you have so far too, and I don't want you to have to take steps back or shut stuff down and whatnot, but I from my perspective of what I've seen and what you guys have shared, I feel like that's something that with the knowledge that you have and the capacity that you have, that you could make that happen still, without it being detrimental to the point where you've gotta cut available hours to the library in half or something along those
And
lines.
it might be such things in the month of February that you have to go down 3 days. You know, I don't wanna see that either, I don't, but we all have to make the hard cuts, cause Chris is 100% right. If we
But
don't
I'd rather
address
make
some of
that
this
cut
stuff,
than have to decide we can't have the library at all,
100%.
cause I mean, again,
100%.
I wish
I'm
this wasn't
partial.
the case. I
Yeah,
don't like
I
having
really
this
do.
conversation.
This is
I
not
really
fun.
don't, because this is the best, budget meeting
It
we'll
is.
have all season
It really
with
is.
you. Because you're prepared, you keep track of your
Got
budget,
your numbers.
you do a phenomenal job. I don't like having this conversation.
and
but
every
the
year
fact
you've went
is-
through and cut what you've you know, all of your bills, you guys have went through, and that, so this is not by any means, it's, we appreciate everything you're doing, it's just, we're being faced with some really
I
unpopular
We
decisions.
wanna keep the library.
I'm not taking any of this personally.
Good.
Thank you.
I'm
Good,
here in a business
'Cause it's-
capacity, and like I said, we've shared where we're at, what we
You
hope to
guys are
aspire
doing
to,
awesome.
and whatever you guys need to do, we'll do our best with.
I just worry that,
Okay, but
you know, I'd like it to only be that, but I worry that that's, I mean, if we're only able to do that there, is it gonna be just as hard to do that in any other place? And by
Oh,
the
for
time we're
sure.
done cutting what minimal we're cutting, is it gonna make any difference?
Well,
Put a couple,
Because your
fix
guys'
a couple
opinion can be
strings that
completely
need to be
different by the time
fixed.
the last workshop's done
Curves.
too.
Correct,
Yeah.
too,
So,
right.
60,000.
so that's the point of a workshop, certainly.
And you've probably
But
exhausted
still,
your donation and grant kind
I've
of
definitely.
resources, I mean.
Well, I mean, we've had great success with grants.
can't use grants for daily expenses.
Right.
That's
We
true.
can't either.
And we rely on, this is just a observational comment to share, but our grant opportunities are almost 100% of the time, dependent on having a city budget. So we have to have somewhere to start in order
Right.
to demonstrate that we could use those, we could
Right.
benefit from grant
Sure.
funds, so,
Okay,
for whatever that's worth.
a couple of thoughts. Number one, the fact that we're leaning on our CD and our savings, that's a Band-Aid.
Yes.
100%.
But this, but,
So
but,
next
but,
year it's gonna be even harder.
I get that, but we're not coming towards the direction of this is a one-time only thing. This is probably, you're probably, I know I'm not gonna be here for that much longer, this is not changing anytime soon.
That's what
It's gonna be on the decline, and it's gonna need to be on the decline for probably the next 5 to 10 years, honestly, for us to be able to recover as a city and to pay for all of the infrastructure that we're behind on. So this is, it really needs to be a very serious decision of how can we cut back? And it's not just, well, instead of going out 4 times a week, we'll only go out 3 times a week. It's gonna be, well, we can't go out at all and everybody has to have PB&J sandwiches.
Okay, the railroad that goes through town, it has a foundation, it has, I've looked at their website. Is there any agency in town that's utilizing, I'm so sorry, I can't remember, BNSF?
BNSF, usually they give, if you're lucky, they'll give $10,000.
Is anybody in town in relationship with them?
There's lots of
not
people
the
who
city.
work for the,
But
who work for
only
them.
from the foundation,
Yes.
the school or?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, a lot of organizations have, team funding has come that way. It used to be a lot more popular than it has been in recent years,
mhm,
but it's becoming harder and harder to pull from.
okay.
But again, stuff like that
But White
doesn't help
River
us in the
Trail,
position that we're in.
White River Trail got $100,000 from Warren Buffett's daughter, who Warren Buffett owns the railroad, so. I mean, there's money out there, I just don't know where it is.
And like with any of it, all grants take time and effort to pursue, and it takes time to develop them. I've only just begun dabbling in grants in the last couple of years, and it's hard. It takes a lot of preparation to, like, it's best to have projects in mind and then ask for
The
grants
research behind them is extensive.
for that specific project, or even after the fact. Some grants are like that, but it's really hard to just, that one sounds nice, let's apply to it today. That's impossible.
You can't even ask Grok to write a grant for you, cause it says no.
It'll tell you no, I know, right?
So are you talking about a flat $5,000 cut or a percentage cut?
I'm simply was having discussion, so that's not something I have a vote on, but that was discussion in my perspective at the moment. But like we just discussed just in the last few moments, you know, that might not feel like enough by the time we've got through all of them, is my concern. I really worry about
So
that.
you try to piece it all together.
Right.
At the
You can't know
final,
for sure.
I don't know if it's called workshop, but at the last one where it's just kind of like, and to put a bow on it, do you guys think there will be some, idea of what those cuts might look like across the board?
It'll have to be, we'll have to know by then,
Yeah,
cause otherwise we'd be
for sure.
in trouble if we didn't know
Well,
by then,
we'd
but
love to attend and
Yeah.
keep apprised.
Might wanna get there early, I imagine there's gonna be a lot of protests.
for that much work. Is there anything that we can leave them with for proposed homework, what to expect, what to maybe prepare for in the long run, any more than we already have? I mean, I believe that's fair for them to know from the voting numbers of what you guys are worried about, your concerns, what you know, I'd love to see this, but if it needs to be, I mean, come up with an emergency plan for 10 grand below, you know, or whatever. But I think at this point, I would hate for us to come and say, you know, give you an idea of needing to cut anywhere from 5 to 6 and then come back and by the time we're done with all these programs and, oh yeah, by the way, it's 12. That's not easy to work through. And I hate to set you up for that impossible track and say, okay, we're at the end and you guys have a week to come up with a new proposed budget before we set everything. So I think it would be fair to at least give you guys a forecast is maybe the best way to put it, not necessarily an estimate, but a forecast of what we hope to, that way you have more of a time frame to, and I feel terrible even asking that, but I think it's fair for you guys to know, or fair for you guys to have the time to work on, you know, how do we get creative, or, you know, Tuesdays are our least impacted day, or Tuesdays are our least busy day, or whatever, maybe we just cut Tuesdays out from now on, or whatever it may be, and you guys have the time to rework those numbers, or work whatever numbers that you can get creative with on your side to say, hey, well, maybe this isn't so bad because, you know, if we just cut out Mondays, it made a lot more of an impact than we thought it did, or something along those lines. But I don't want it to be where we have to force you to figure out a large cut. I mean, these are all gonna be painful and large, but at least I want you to have the time frame to help figure it.
Your
or to
wages-
fairly figure it.
I'm sorry, your
Okay.
wages are paid salary, not salary,
Hourly.
but hourly, right? And you are on full-time, so,
How many hours are you putting in a week? 40.
so if we put you on a salary instead, it would cover that, you know, I mean, you would have a flat salary.
Does
It
that
would-
meet that new standard?
Well, what I'm wondering is, then would she be able, I mean, it wouldn't hurt her personally, would she be able to cut a day, would that save her anything? It's just an option, I'm just talking, I'm spitballing.
Sure. There's the new salary, minimum, threshold that exists now that didn't exist
Do you
about a
know
year
what that
ago.
is?
I think it's 50.
It's 50,000 for a
Right.
salary.
50, you have to have a minimum of 50 to be salary.
So, but,
But I think that's an annual, not a per hour.
But does the government have to?
Well, that's
abide by that?
another thing too. Yeah, maybe that's something that that doesn't apply to us, where we maybe think it does.
Would you be willing to go on salary if that was an option?
I don't know, that's not a ball of wax I've ever enrolled or considered.
What's the benefit of salary?
It would just, she wouldn't have to worry about having her hours in if we did have to cut time at the library. She-
Would the salary,
But I don't know that if you're cutting time at the library, that's part of what you're saving is for salary. Cause if you're cutting her
Well,
time, you're not
that's the
cutting any
biggest
other
expense
expense.
here, but
Right.
you should be.
Right, so I
That's
don't
what-
know
that's
if you're,
what I'm
it's as
wondering.
effective
I
as,
mean, it's-
sure.
Yeah.
But it'd be
that's what I'm
something to kick around to see if it,
Our
If there's-
budget
if it could be
is,
beneficial.
if our budget, 57 that we have on the paper, and if it's cut from that, the salary lines up to about 44,000. So that, there's a very tiny budget for us to wiggle without
Right.
getting into.
But as it is, it's hours right now, so if we have to cut what's open,
That's the really
That's-
terrible part about
It is.
having these, budget cut talks is labor is always the most expensive part of the budget. And then you're talking about people's livelihoods and
Personal.
it's a horrible, horrible conversation to get into. But the fact of the matter is
Is
you
it
know,
still
maybe,
full-time at
maybe we
32?
can,
is that the Nebraska standard still full, 32 hours is
that
full-time
was
still?
gonna be my question too.
I'm not sure
because
about that.
Terry had told me recently that I must clock 40 hours in order to maintain my full-time status, so I don't.
Cause that's just our policy.
Oh,
If-
but
If nothing has changed to supersede that.
gotcha, I don't believe so, but isn't the state didn't the state have something like that, you have a 32 to be full-time?
but I think, you know, for other departments, one of the things that we're absolutely discussing is the seasonal employees.
Yeah, right.
Well, it looks like as of January 26th, it has gone up to 844 a week, which is 43,888 per year.
To be full-time,
To be exempt from, to be salary.
oh, gotcha,
It's 43,000.
Well, there's another problem, forgive me for not saying this sooner. You also have to qualify under executive or administrative pay.
yes,
One of them, you have to have be granted the power to make decisions in matters of significance, which even the clerk is not gonna ever do that, right? So we qualify under the other one, which is supervising the equivalent of 2 full-time employees. So I could be salaried because I supervise,
She can,
those two,
okay.
but nobody else can be able
so
to.
she couldn't do salary.
No.
Solve
Okay,
that
we'll
question.
put that in.
And you said full-time has to be 40,
Well, I mean, on our manual, I think,
Right.
that, it says that, but probably definitions of employees. But I could see if I can find if that's by state would change.
But, I mean, the only change that would be is you don't take the insurance, but you do get the stipend for not taking the insurance, so,
So
I
it
mean,
would
it's,
affect
we're-
the city's Medicare, Social Security, retirement matches, and some people, if I understand.
So my thought with that is if 32 counts as full-time and we cut one day, she can still be a full-time employee and still get all of the benefits that a full-time employee does, but it still cuts that 8-hour wage and what that would be. So that way she doesn't have to be, yeah, but it doesn't take away any of her full-time benefits.
Well, let's
It's
talk
40
about
hours.
this, instead of affecting your livelihood, what was your wages, about 42,000, is that what you said, Lisa?
With benefits,
With benefits, okay, so
the taxes.
that leaves
44 would be more. accurate.
6,500, right? If we set the budget cap at 50. So what can you, that pretty much is eaten up by utilities, so then that doesn't leave you with anything else.
Okay.
As much as we don't want it to affect that, I don't know how
Nebraska,
to, can't.
this is from what? Workers' comp, okay. At least the first response here is Nebraska does not have a specific statute setting a fixed number of hours for full-time employment. Employers can define full-time based on hours worked, 32, 35, or 40, or job responsibilities. This means some companies may consider 32 hours full-time, especially in industries that value flexibility.
So maybe that's
Full-time
something to
benefits,
consider changing within our policies, so that way we can make the necessary cuts in all the departments, but then our employees don't lose all those benefits.
Benefits of
Benefits are
eligibility
really
under
hard
Affordable Care
Come
Act.
back from, I mean,
Full-time employees defined as someone who works on average at least 30 hours per week, or 130 hours per month.
Where can I get a job?
Well,
I know
that
what
just,
to ask.
all that does give you the,
I have not found that.
the benefits, you can get benefits, job benefits.
So like not that it affects Ashley, but our employee insurance, as long as we say they're a full-time employee,
That shouldn't change their qualifier for that.
No, I would think, yeah, that Blue Cross Blue Cross Blue Shield Light,
So like if
I
we did a
think it's
policy
how you
change to say
determine-
that if we considered a 32-hour employee full-time,
as long as that doesn't backfire on
seasonal,
other employees.
right,
Now all of a sudden you have more benefits you gotta pay.
right.
but we pay 100%, right?
If they're taking the health insurance.
Right. Okay.
That's gone up to, I think it started out 690, now it's 960.
It's actually made,
Our seasonal work that's park, none of them they're all part-time, at how many average hours?
Well, they're seasonal. So they usually work 40
Our
hours a week. but they're
seasonal
in the
doesn't
season.
have benefits in, okay.
so what'd you say our average insurance is, health insurance?
I think it came to, I think it went up to 963 or something.
But it was like 1,500
Oh,
before.
under full plan, yeah.
Right.
Well, it varied, but
So this whole stipend policy that we implemented was based on a 25% of what the average insurance was. So we could relook at that and change the stipend policy, and that would be a savings, and then maybe we could not have to cut as much out of these departments. Or hours, cause that's what it
So
was,
you
it was
can take it
20,
out of benefits instead of hours.
cause it was set at 350, right?
yeah.
Well, I'll say from the private sector and small business owner, that's something that we do all our insurance privately, and it's different every year, and that's not the fun part, but I mean, since 2013, I've been able to make it happen, and before that, there's no way I could have, there was a couple of years in there that it was,
You're saying you do
Tight.
this, you offer the stipend? Or
no,
you don't?
no, we don't offer any insurance to any of our employees, and just, we have to pay for our own outright, But because it's like that, we qualify for whatever assistance through, healthcare.gov. So depending on what you make, you can qualify for more assistance that way than what the city would be able to offer you for assistance through what they qualify for healthcare plans. So sometimes if you make the decision not to offer healthcare plans at all, an employee can end up with a better plan in the long run from the federal program that costs them less.
So
And that's what-
And then that's where the stipends come in. We could,
$350 to everybody and no
correct,
insurance.
just we can't offer insurance anymore,
But-
but we offer the stipend,
No.
which gives us the benefit
I spoke to Jake about this,
that can't,
that,
cause we talked about that.
because he said that he would be willing to help our employees get on
Right,
that, but we can't even offer a stipend to entice
Offset
them
that.
to go, elsewhere. It,
You can't pay 50%.
nope, not if they
Well, but
go,
that
not if
affects-
they go on.
they have to claim it if you do, I mean, they have to claim it in what they make,
It
cause
makes
it's determined on how much you make, and so it might put them out of a category that they could qualify for better rates.
The way he put it is it disqualifies them from being able
Cause
to.
the reason why you qualify is you're not able to get it through the business.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of, I know that anymore, a lot of group plans are very hard to compete with what exists privately,
Right.
or individually, I should say, not privately, but individually,
Then
for
you
that
know
reason.
We could offer an
It's-
aftermarket program. a
But we
lot
only
cheaper
have-
than our
There's
employees.
4,200 a year that we're paying them if they're taking the cash allowance.
But if we can't pay the
So-
cash allowance, and we cut the health insurance so that way they qualify for the other, what are we paying in health insurance as a whole?
We have 2 full-time employees that take the health insurance, cause now
Not enough
Cindy's
to
gone.
be-
Cindy was the third.
So maybe 3,000 in the long run. That's not worth even really dabbling.
Well, I guess I was just thinking if you wanted to just not offer anything, if that's an option, because they're not a large employer.
Right, but that doesn't save us all that much, does it?
Well, it saves you 4,200 a year off every stipend person
Oh,
and just give them a raise.
right,
4,200 must be, there's 80 hours in a year, so if they're getting 4,200, isn't that like getting an extra $2?
About 20 cents. 2080.
It'd be $2. It's-
$2 an
Yeah,
hour raise.
for
They're 80 hours in a year.
every dollar
Yeah, you're
that
right.
you
Yeah,
make is
$2.
$2,000 a year.
$2, yeah.
I mean, now the stickler there is you have to keep reminding the employees, this is why you're making so much, when later down
To
the road
use
they
that
want
to pay.
insurance, or.
but I will say too, the
But
more
that
you
way-
make, the less you qualify for too,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a double-edged sword
You gotta
everywhere.
carry workman's comp on every employee
Right.
anyway, correct?
Correct, that's a requirement,
Yeah.
independent of
Yeah,
that.
you
Work
have
comp
to.
is separate.
Yep, that's an
Yes.
independent.
Work comp, as a governmental entity, we're on a reimbursement basis,
Mhm.
so we only,
Damn.
no, I'm sorry, I'm thinking unemployment.
Oh, yes,
No.
yes, yes, unemployment that way, not work comp, yes,
Work
you're
comp
right.
is
Comps
just,
is a joke.
work
It's a lot,
comp
too.
is
It's terrible.
a rate, like clerical, library.
Yes.
Is very cheap
It is
rate
very
for
cheap.
$100 of wages.
Correct.
Street
Audits
and
are
then
not fun.
water.
Yeah,
or
be a bowl
whatever.
hauler, it was $1,200 a month for an employee.
But,
It's so
um,
stupid.
So I guess you could do the math, but maybe even $1 an hour raise or $1.50 or something, if it's gonna raise work comp a little bit, subtract that off. I don't know,
Yeah, that's
it's
what, that's
better
the
than
other
not.
problem, right? Yeah, That's,
But
it's based on what.
it's better than
I know
just
that-
using everything.
I know that one of the employees that takes the insurance, is why that employee's here.
Well,
We
But you
take
could
that away.
offer,
But, and maybe that's part of it though too, like you said, if Jake's willing to sit down with them and help them do that other, that might be part of that has never been an option before, that might help that.
Maybe we should invite Jake to come and discuss this with the council.
That might not be a bad idea to be able to just bring him in and ask him questions. Well, maybe we'll invite him to one of the next
I
workshop
guess
meetings, and that way he can answer those questions as we go through.
we're holding these good people up
I
here.
know, right.
I guess for right now, Ashley, I think I have to agree with the mayor. I think 50,000 as a budget right now is probably legit. I hate to even say that. That means you guys are gonna have to cut 64.50, I guess, but.
And 50 from the city transfers.
Right, transfers at 50,000, and at the end, you know, if we can come up with somewhere that we can come up with a magical number, we can help that. But.
But
that's
even
it.
then, like, if that's all we cut from all of them, is that gonna be enough to help? Are we
It'll
not
do.
hurting our city more than
In the
what we're
long
helping
run?
us in the long, you know what I mean? Like,
I-
we've gotta make it worth enough
I
to help,
understand that,
but not enough to
right.
hurt, you know, that's a hard number
These are
to,
questions we need to ask as we go forward.
right.
I would plan for worst case scenario, and that is worst case scenario. I don't think it's happening, do you guys?
That's, I think this is where we at least have to start these discussions.
Yeah, and then let us go, as we go through these budget meetings, we'll have a better idea as we go along,
Yeah, we'll be standing by.
and we can give you a better idea, you know.
The only good part, you guys got to go first, you get more time to rebudget everything. That's not a very good glass half full thing, but.
I wanna thank you for being so diligent and so
Yes,
prepared. This is awesome, cause we will not see this, I guarantee you.
well, and it allows us to actually have the opportunity to sit here and actually get creative with brainstorming, because without these accurate numbers, we couldn't do that. So that
Yours is
helps
awesome.
substantially.
I hope that accuracy carries through all the departments as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
thanks, you
Well,
guys.
we'll be asking for it. Thank you for setting such a high standard.
Yeah, we're gonna show this, we're gonna put a big plaque back here.
Please do.
This is how it's done.
But otherwise, thank you for your time, we'll be standing by and meet with you generally again at the last workshop.
That's
And I'll have you there, so.
Thank you for
Thank you
coming.
both.
Both.
Thank you.
Alright, take some.
You don't need training wheels yet. They're
Not
coming,
yet.
right?
No, just like back the wheelbarrow. We have to get a new vehicle that I could reasonably
There you
get
go.
in and out of, and, cause the pickup truck was.
Not working.
Alright, take care, thank you.
Bye, thank you.
So, shall we, renegotiate the fire contract? I don't
What's
think
terrible about this is they're gonna need another increase. I mean, they're probably
it's
gonna need
built
more,
in.
more than what's already even here, but I think if we stay to what is on here, I think both parties can work with it. I mean, that was something that when I had the opportunity to sit in front of our US Senator and with our governor, I brought it up both times, that our federal government and our state government needs to do more on behalf of all these contracts, especially with the fire department. We are in a unique area, a unique territory, a terrain that where what they need and what we need to help them pay for is substantially more than the average cost for even compare it to what North Platte has to come up with. Because they do not have to cover the types of things that we have to cover. It's drastically different. And then I picked North Platte because it's not Omaha and it's not that drastically different. But it is, even though it isn't such a huge size difference, it's still drastically different in what their departments need to prepare and have on hand and have availability for trucks, volunteers. Well, and even just at that point, I'm sure it's not volunteer, I'm sure they have a full-on department, but where ours run the way it does and where we've seen what our weather has done to us and then what we're forecasted to be, you know, for the rest of this year and probably for the next 5 to 10 years, our guys are gonna need everything they've got. And we can't,
But the
we're not gonna be able
problem-
to cut from our area.
Problem that I have with it is, what do we take in property tax? 200,000-ish?
Yes, and that is something to remember. A part of me is probably like you guys, the last thing we wanna consider is having one of those special hearings to increase our levy. And then the other side of me says, if the community didn't want the increase in sales tax, which tourists help pay for, where do they think it's gonna come from?
Well, but what's wrong about that is I've seen an increase every single year for the last 4 or 5 years, and we're still not seeing any of that.
Mine went up 25% this
Oh,
year.
mine was miserable this year. And so, you know, I don't know that that sounds just either for us to ask that, because it's only just gonna make everything extremely worse for all of our residents.
Right.
It's
And I don't know that we
pennies.
still even get any of that back to make it worth it.
Or
I
how
don't think
much
we get
how
enough
much
of
it
that
would
back.
result in
Yes,
an
yes. And as much as we would hurt them for the increase that we would have. So-
It's literal pennies what we
Yes.
get in property tax.
Difference, yeah.
And then, but look at these numbers, so if we get 200,000, I mean, the
Well,
fire department's
Take the fire
taking,
department out of it, the sheriff's office takes all of it.
Well, that needs to, that,
All of it.
We
that needs to be
expected
adjusted.
204 is what we budgeted last year for property tax.
but, so the,
It's too bad we couldn't
I mean,
cover both
they're-
of them with that amount.
they're pushing 60% of what we bring in is what they take.
Well, I
It
know.
doesn't, and
during
I
the-
know that stuff's expensive,
Yeah.
but this is expensive.
Sure. Well, and honestly, we've gotta work together with them and them with us, so that we both survive, because at this point, not one of us can go,
They have proved their worth.
right.
Oh,
Oh, absolutely.
But even then, like, we can't give them everything because they're awesome.
Right.
And at our
Right.
expense, we can't hurt ourselves in the process too, and I think that's exactly the point you were trying to make, so
I'm trying,
So what's, this is.
do we
this
wanna
is-
sit and negotiate that with them then?
well, this is a 5-year contract.
But everything's welcome to
I don't
renegotiation,
think
isn't it?
this is out
Cause
of bounds.
it says either party giving 90 days notice of intent to terminate, and if we need, if we need to terminate it because it doesn't match what we can afford in our budget, we can renegotiate what we want the next one to be. I mean, that's one thing that's been good about a lot of the contracts we've redone in the last 4 years is they're real contracts.
But the thing is they're facing the same stuff
They
we're
are.
facing.
They are.
Huge, fuel costs.
They are.
Electric has gone up.
I will say this though, they do have access to a lot more federal grants, federal funding, state funding, state grants that we do. So if they are to get help, outside help, they have more access to outside help than we do. And I think that's fair to bring up in this case.
We still give them free water, right?
I was wondering if there was anything, we give them some rock.
Yes,
Can we get one
and
dump
we give
load
them,
a year?
we give them rock every year.
I don't know
Yeah,
if we could
we
do
still
much
give them free water.
trade.
A lot of it recently.
I just don't know that there's anything that we can do here.
Well, if you'd like, I can talk to Adam and see how he feels it's written and what he feels would be realistic as far as contract. To see if it would be entirely inappropriate with what we have written if we were to go back to the table and ask to reevaluate at least the next 2 years out of this 5-year.
Yeah.
Because honestly, even if it doesn't, I mean, this year it's 120, 250. And if we could just get it to stay at that for the next 2 years instead of gradually go up to 123 and 127, I mean, from their perspective, they're only gaining $7,000 more. That's not gonna be anything that's gonna make or break them. I wouldn't think. A lot of what they have is either really expensive or really not, just like us. But we're kind of scraping the bottom of the bank, the bottom of the pool for anything we can get. Or is that not worth considering because it's
It
not enough?
essentially cuts $3,000 out, frees up $3,000.
Right. Is it
for
worth?
us for this next year, so.
But if you go 2 years, that's closer to 11.
Mhm.
That would help.
Yeah.
Well, and anything that we can put in motion for future too is good to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Whether we get the direct payoff now or not.
When we get rich, we can give them more.
How generous of us.
We'll put that in the contract.
Yeah, there you go.
When we get money, we'll give you more.
Well,
When Keno blows up again.
I'm gonna ask a really stupid question, and this is just something's been on my head here lately. What's our population right now?
80-40.
40, so we got
How
to
do
be
you know that?
The census came out, 2020 census.
Cause our
That
signs
was
on the
6
highway
years
still
ago.
stay,
I don't know who
I don't know that they are
changes those.
updated as often as the
state, I'm
census
sure
is,
they're
yeah.
supposed to. And
I
our
was
next
thinking about
census
50,
is
yeah.
what, 2030?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
the
every
next
10
census,
years.
yeah,
So what is, I mean, we are so close to being on the cusp of being a village.
which is 800.
Actually, we're within what we can,
But what
we
you
can
have to-
change if
which-
we would like to
And that would
request.
alleviate a
But what you
lot.
have to realize is you really need to research how much state aid you lose.
Correct.
Cause I went into the clerk
There's a lot.
directory and I looked for villages that are almost 800. And their municipal equalization was very little.
Mhm.
So,
But
you
the
know.
county takes up most of that, so they have to take care of your infrastructure, they're in charge of your police department, your fire departments, that's their responsibility if you.
So
that's
you're
what they
seeing-
say. I haven't ever seen that in
So-
statute.
No.
so in Harrison,
Right.
the,
Sheriff's
number of
office.
years ago, the sheriff lived down on the Sioux County border down by Mitchell. And we saw him, yes, he's obligated to take care of Harrison. We saw him on payday. That's the only time he drove up and was ever in the courthouse.
Yeah, you really don't have any leverage.
You don't have any leverage.
Other than
Yes, they
trying
have to
action.
supply, they have to respond if there's a call, but they don't have to be here. And they won't be here.
And Hemingford is, I mean, they're in that same situation where they're relying all on Bucks Butte
On
County Sheriff.
alliance, and I think they're doing quite well, actually, I think
Because
it's gonna help for them
If
financially.
Financially, yeah.
if we were to go to a village and not paying the sheriff's department anymore, county just has to supply police, right? In their budget, they have to fire 3 deputies.
It's no different than what they're doing right now.
And you wouldn't pay fire anymore as a village?
I don't know.
See,
Would that not
That-
have to be a
Harrison-
responsibility of the county then?
That's the county's
no,
responsibility.
Harrison's still, it's a joint, fire department, rural and village.
So would that not change what,
This is
because
all-
ours is joint now, correct?
No,
This is,
no,
It's
this is not,
agreement
this is
between-
rural that we pay
yeah,
for fire
this is
protection.
under Dawes County.
Yeah, but wouldn't the county
Because
have to
they-
help us pay for
so the
that if
county-
we
The
were a
city of
village?
Crawford and the rural fire department could not get along, and so they split the sheets. So now it's solely rural. It says Crawford Fire Department, but it's solely
It's solely
rural
rural.
that
But that's
we
where-
pay
The fire.
for.
The subcontract, yeah.
That's what I'm getting at, is if we, and I don't know that I wanna bail, I'm not sure that, I'm just.
No, but
again,
that's,
we're
if we're gonna
talking.
have to cut, if we wanna see substantial, that's not a bad thing to consider, cause like you said, if somehow we don't have to come up with $350,000 to cover 2 contracts,
We-
because they're obligated to the county then, that saves us a crap ton of money.
And then-
That's a lot
Imagine
more
if
than
you
coming
could-
up with an extra $70,000
They're
by hurting our
responsible for
departments.
infrastructure too, and that's the way I read it, was the county is now responsible for infrastructure.
Our broke county.
I know that, Chris. but
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
It's no
just-
different than where we're
no,
at.
So,
right
I'm
so
now.
just-
how
I'm
far
just-
on,
we're
how
broke.
far with infrastructure? Help me see that picture.
All it said was infrastructure, that's all it said, so I'm guessing maintenance of roads. I don't know about sewer lines, I don't know.
So dig
I would
everything
have-
up
I
and
would
convert
have-
to a village.
I would have to do a lot more digging if anybody's interested in it.
I think
just
it's worth
wanted-
exploring.
I
I mean,
wanna
we're to
get
the
it.
point now where we
Yeah.
need to make some big changes. This is the time to be looking at every single thing we can look at. We need to look in every corner and in every drawer. I think it's the time to do that research, especially now where we're setting budget. Cause if we need to, I mean, cause that change has to happen through an election, though, correct? Is that an
think
elected
so.
change?
It's
Cause
not
it's a change
election,
of government.
it's
But it's a change of government.
Yeah,
The
it's-
community has to
right,
decide that they're
decide that.
okay with being on board to change the government in that direction.
I think it'd have to be on the ballot, yeah.
But
I mean,
we're
yeah.
on a ballot year, I mean, this would be a
Good year
good
to
time
do
to
it.
do it, because we could put it on the next election.
I'll do some digging and get more.
'Cause you only have to be in it. Yeah, cause you only have to give it, what, 30 days or whatever to be on there?
But is the 840?
We knew by August.
Do we have to be in?
You got 2 weeks.
You're gonna wanna.
We need
do
to
a
put it
lot
on
of
the,
research
we
because
wanna
of
put it
the
on the
law.
July 28th meeting, so you got a
So-
little bit to think
So
about it.
then we know would no longer get highway.
It'd probably be reduced if you don't
For
have to
sure.
do infrastructure.
But
Right.
if you went from, what are we getting for highway allocation, to some, did you say
Um,
217,
220, wasn't it?
220?
Let's see, wasn't it going up this next year? But
Well, I'd
highway
say they-
allocation this year was 151, 866.
150.
Municipal equalization's going up like, projected to go up to 17,000, but when we figured a 3% cost of living to employees would probably eat up 11,000, so. you know,
So it almost covers our budget for fire,
for-
for our police department.
but not fire.
But, I mean, if, like you said, I mean, if somehow we could come up with an extra 120,000 instead of hurting all the departments that much, or, you know, we cut the departments too and we come up with 200,000, that's good matching funds if we wanna do projects.
We could fix a lot.
And we need to get serious about finding that kind of money.
If the bill of sales, are we gonna make any money? Or are we just gonna break even straight across?
If we
I
break
think at
even.
this point we're
If
gonna
we
be
break
probably,
Break even.
that's the goal.
What about the old fire? I mean, if we just add all these little things up, is it gonna help it up?
I wouldn't be surprised that fire all go for 30 grand. I really wouldn't be
But
surprised.
they are one-time band-aids.
Right,
Yeah,
that's a
exactly.
one-time just to add to the pot,
That's
that's it.
100%.
So we've gotta be responsible
And then
with
we
And
might.
we
get-
really
where
have
that
to,
sits.
we really have to take some of that money for doing the remodel here so that we can get
Oh,
the sheriff here, so that we can get rid of that building. We really,
It's not gonna come out to be
What's
that much in the
gonna help?
pocket.
No.
but we gotta get rid of that building.
Yeah.
So,
Where are we at on the museum? We haven't followed up on that, or?
it's $400 a year right now for, essentially demolition money. If a hailstorm comes through, takes out the roof, we don't have any coverage.
No foul. Okay.
It's $400.
Okay.
And I don't know that I know that Jake came and presented that at the meeting, but I don't know that they actually realized that. And we should probably have another meeting with them and tell them. I wonder, could we do that as a,
Have a special
As a-
joint meeting,
as a,
cause we could do all of us.
it's not
all
really a
in.
department, so we couldn't really do that as a budget meeting, could we?
No, but you could do a special joint meeting, where it's just a special meeting that has all of our board there and,
Are
They're
they
board
a-
too.
Are they a public entity?
no, they're just a renter of ours and we need to make a
So just have
decision on that
special
building.
meeting and have them there to talk about it.
But that,
It's
at least
been
that
a
way
couple
everybody
months
can.
now, we
Pad's
probably need.
coming next meeting. There's money to be had, the city has to pay it up front, and then we get reimbursed, but the business owners are gonna have to put the money up. So they'll have to pay the city will have to pay Pad gets reimbursed from the state, Pad gets it back, so. it's.
But that's just something to
Anyway,
consider
but-
within the budget so that we have
Right,
that movable.
Right, exactly. So
But that
if we, I don't know if the
change much.
museum can be fixed, or if there can be money there to help with that, I don't know that.
They don't have anything, though. They didn't even have enough money to cover just owning the building.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna be able to afford that option, even when presented.
I don't know where we're gonna.
Well-
We can liquidate some of this overhead, we can get rid of it, that's just a waste, that drain on us,
Right.
it's.
We do pay property tax on that building that the cops are in right now because we have renters in there.
The percentage, they percentage it out to, on the office space and Rhonda's new ways, we have to pay taxes on that.
Do we pay taxes on the contract amount, or what we have of the line item of that contract of what is the rent? You know what I mean?
What's that?
Does that make sense? So when they calculate that amount, do they calculate that on the line item amount in the contract of what is just rent, or do they take the percentage of the entire contract
The
amount?
county, I'm talking about tax.
Do you know what I'm talking
I
about? Yeah, the
think-
taxes,
I
are we
think-
paying taxes on the entire contract amount?
Or just-
Because they rent, or just the line
No,
item of
Oh,
what,
no, it's square
in the
footage.
con, oh, okay, so it's not.
One
tied to
year,
what
one
our
year it's
contract
kinda,
is.
it jumped, and so I called Lindy and,
So I was like, that's bad if it's the whole
And
number,
they
we're
were-
paying way over.
and they were just off on their square footage, so we drew up a plan, you know, the GIS
Yeah.
has the plan there, and we
Okay.
got it back down, and I
But-
found out that we were at the lowest before uninhabitable, so she
That's
couldn't
fair.
alter that.
That's fair, it's
It was
probably
right
there.
So,
But all this stuff that we're talking about, I know it's pennies, right? But pennies add up.
We
Right.
gotta start somewhere, we gotta start sweeping the pennies in the corners right now, we gotta pick up every single one we see.
And I'd be alright with selling this old, grain storage building down here, except for the fact that it's right at the entrance of the park. And I would cringe to think of what it could turn into. I know it's not the prettiest building we own,
Right.
but at least it's cleaned up.
Yes.
can
So,
we rent it for storage space?
Oh, that's not a terrible idea.
We're using it right now. It's about the only building we got that is usable for storage.
Yeah.
All right, are we good with that discussion for this evening, when we have something to stir on and think about until we meet again?
And I think the next meeting involves, is it police, garbage, and public transportation?
Oh, this one will be fun.
Right.
Or am I looking ahead? I think that's what we're
That
doing.
sounds about right.
I got it.
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Is somebody,
Garbage, police, and traffic.
okay, is somebody
Transportation.
gonna get a hold of Dodge County and have them here to present? It's always weird because they have budgets on actuals. So even though their year runs July through June, you'd think they'd be all done, they'd know, you know, and they'd be
Right.
getting a hold of us already, but they're always behind us because they have to wait till
They have it all
June
done.
ends, and then they have to have all their numbers and all their figures, and, but I would think in generalities, I mean, before, we could do a budget well enough to know.
Do you want Jake Stewart to be here?
Might not be a bad idea, just in case we have questions.
Okay, we have a meeting tomorrow night, so.
I'll have to contact the sheriff's office and ask them to be here. Cause we need to set up our quarterly meeting with them
So-
anyway, cause it's already been half a year and we haven't met.
So when do you
Say I'm
want,
not reaching out.
when do you want me to ask Jake to be here? What time?
Well, the meeting starts at
5:30.
5:30.
Get out of town, probably nice to put them in front,
Front,
Yep,
we can get back.
for sure.
I think, yeah, Swan would be probably easiest to do first,
Okay,
cause there's not gonna be a lot
Unless
that we
they
can
prefer
change.
it.
Right, and we'll have probably limited amount of questions, so.
what do you, I mean, what can we actually discuss though? I mean, Swan sets the price.
Right.
We
Oh,
collect for
Swan.
them and,
Yeah, I don't think that can
There's-
take, unless, if they thought there was gonna be a increase, then Jody could figure out number of households and what that would amount to.
increase when it
But-
went into effect
But
in June.
we just budget, you know, plenty to cover it in and out, so
Yeah.
it's almost nothing, but we can decide on the number.
Okay, so if nothing else, then have Kay send over some numbers then.
Unless there's, I don't know if we do any advertising, but I would think they'd be on the hook to advertise what to put in the dumpsters and whatnot. And,
Yeah, that hasn't changed.
Yeah, all we do is collection.
yeah,
It is what it
That
is.
one's pretty, especially now that it's Swan and
Right,
not
it
Stump.
doesn't change.
Yeah, there's.
so how's that working with those green dumpsters? Because we got those with a grant,
Yes,
so they're just servicing them, they don't consider themselves owning them.
Correct.
They're barely servicing. them.
Well.
Mine's about, the
issues.
bottom's about to fall out.
Really?
so that's, the reason is, they were getting Job Corps kids to come weld new bottoms onto dumpsters, and with the $15 minimum wage, they decided that it's just not worth it because they had to teach these kids how to weld. And so we weren't getting our money's worth out of them.
So I guess we shouldn't talk about this.
Yeah,
too
I was
much.
gonna
It's
say,
not
we're
on our
beyond this department, so. Do
Sure,
I have a motion for adjournment?
sure.
Dean, and second,
I'll second.
Gaston, roll call.
Dean,
Yes.
Gaston,
Yes.
Yes.
is second.
Good meeting.
Thank
I
you,
knew
this
that.